we are going to take some time to reflect on the economy, particularly the campaign, which is Buy Back South Africa campaign. Our speaker tonight is Advocate Leslie Sidibe, the CEO of Proudly South African. It's an agency that reports to the Department of Trade and Industry. And Advocate Sidibe will be speaking to us about several things, and I'll just cover a few. Firstly, to give us an overview of the mandate of Proudly South African, what its role is, and what their primary tasks are. The objective of this campaign, which we think is quite important, and which is why we've come to Mahikeng so we can share some of this with you. What it means to buy locally produced products and services, the benefits of this campaign in terms of what the expectations are for small and medium-sized enterprises, and of course what is expected of us by Proudly South African to make this campaign a success.
Proudly South African. This is an initiative of NEDLEC. Proudly South African was formed in 2001 following the 1998 Presidential Job Summit that was called by former President Nelson Mandela. And the essence of the campaign was really to drive two key values. One is patriotism and the second one is national pride. So it's about national pride and patriotism, but to translate that to address the socio-economic challenges. And as we look at the mandate of Proudly South African, it's important at the same time that we understand other agencies, marketing agencies within the country that has the responsibility of marketing and communicating to the people of South Africa. And that is why the partnership with GCIS is quite critical, because it's all about communications. I put up the slide there that deals with the hexagon, and in that hexagon we begin to define the role of Proudly South African, Brand South Africa, and Tourism South Africa. And so what Brand South Africa is about, previously it was called the International Marketing Council, and I hope not to misrepresent them this evening. But in essence, what Brand South Africa is about, communicating with the international community about the key messages around this country, and they work with GCIS in that regard. There's also a relationship with a division within DTI called TISA that deals with issues around export. The mandate of Proudly South African fundamentally, it's around ensuring that we address issues of national pride and patriotism, deal with issues of educating South Africans about the importance of buying local, the economic-wide benefits of buying local, and that is why I'm here tonight, and also to deal with issues of a supplier database, a discussion that I think we will engage on, and to deal with issues of labels of origin.
What is the relationship between Proudly South African, Home Affairs, and SAPS?
One of the things that we did as Proudly South African, you know about Operation Fiela?
Yes, I do.
You know about Operation Fiela? Yeah. Okay, so we sit, we were part of, and the minutes will show this, that we participated in the discussions. Because you see, once you start talking about Fiela, the unintended consequences should not be that you are targeting foreign nationals who are of African descent. We do have an influx of inferior products. Part of the problem that we have is that our borders are porous. And it's an issue that we've raised over and over again. There's a lot of counterfeit goods that end up in South Africa, that end up on our streets. But you do know that every time some municipalities tries to clean up their streets, they are being accused of being anti-black, being anti-this, Amagents Ayapanda. It's like somebody who's selling pirated DVDs on the street. They will tell you, no, chief, I cannot marry. But in reality, that person is stealing. We are part of this discussion about Operation Fiela. We sit in the net joint where all this, GCIS is also part of that. And we've made our inputs in terms of how we believe we should be communicating our messages. And just so you know, one of my engagements, and I can show you my calendar now, tomorrow when I leave here, I'm going to address Home Affairs. So we work with them.
The second question, when you speak to South Africans about this campaign? What do they say to you? What is the feedback that you're getting from them? Are they buying into the campaign?
The feedback in terms of Proudly South African, I will show you during when we break. I will show you feedback. Independent research. 93.6% of people said we recognize the brand Proudly South African. You ask any South African whether they are proud to be South Africans, yes they are. There's only one challenge. How do you translate the emotive into the rational? Because what we find is that, unfortunately, people like you and I, we are not buying products that are made in this country. We are buying products that are made outside South Africa. And the reality of it is this. When a consumer walks through the door, we need to understand what makes them buy, what influences their purchase behavior and their purchase patterns. Is it price? Is it quality? Is it label? Is it volume?
I want to know what is being done to educate the South African public about proudly South African products.
Kumo. How do you tell the difference between a product that's made in South Africa or overseas? There are a number of factors. One, you look for the proudly South African logos. Number two, it says by law, any product that is made available for sale on the shelf, according to the Consumer Protection Act, it must state the country of origin. And there is a discussion on the labels of origin that I didn't really have time to go into. It must state where it was made. So it will say made in South Africa, or made in China, or made in Korea, or made in wherever. So you look out for that. Look out for the label. And I always find it quite, people say, but I don't have the time to check out that. When you buy a t-shirt or buy a shirt, don't you check the size? You do. So while you're looking at the size, look at where the product was made. It was made in South Africa. And you make a decision as a consumer and say, look, this suit was not made in South Africa, I'm not going to buy it. Or this suit was made in Mauritius, I'm going to buy it. It is as simple as that. That's number two. Number three, you look for what is called the barcode, right? The barcode is your 600 barcode. Ne? If it says 600, whilst it is not conclusive, it's indicative that the product was made in South Africa. What do I mean by that? There are certain products that carry the 600 barcodes that are not necessarily made in this country. But chances are that it was made in South Africa because it would have been issued by CGCSA, Consumer Goods Council South Africa. So those are the kind of indicators that you look for.
As a member of the Executive Council responsible for economic development and tourism, we would like to partner with you, Proudly South Africa, because as a department currently and as a municipality, we are in a process to establish a cooperative college. The mandate of the cooperative college is to build capacity of our cooperatives so that they are able to tap into 30% set aside of the national government. As a province, our premier has topped it up at 30%, which makes it 60%. Now you'd imagine the capacity that will be required. Now, we must have engagements, Lona as Proudly South African and municipality Warona, because we are trying to package, according to the resolution of the launching Black Industrialization Summit, we are trying to package our SMMEs to benefit from that agenda ya DTI, ya Black Industrialization.
Madam from Kenneth Kaunda, this is really why we are on this roadshow. And some people don't understand our messages when we say, you see, the Chinese will tell you, the communists will tell you, give me a child until the age of 5 or 7, and then you can have the child for the rest of their lives. And the simple message is one, they would have pumped that child with communism and communist philosophy and the history of China and patriotism to China, that child will always remember that my country is one and that's China. I want us to think differently about how we view ourselves as South Africans. And it's up to you whether you want the partnerships. We would love those partnerships. And we embrace you, we will work with you.
And the local suppliers within the Northwest, and if they are, how do we actually get them? But then I found that my answer actually lay in your banner. So I want to ask, if I go into your database, is it really, is it segmented in terms of, have you actually divided them, like this supplier provides this service, and am I able to tap into suppliers within the locality that I'm in?
Keletso from the SABC, one of the responsibilities that we have as Proudly South African is to actually create a database of suppliers. It's one of the key responsibilities that come out of the local procurement accord. And we've been trying to do that. The questions that you raise, I mean, we're looking to design as a template the type of system that you would be able to type in. If you need a plumber in Mahikeng, and that plumber would be able to quote you online, and that plumber is within a certain radius. I have a problem that needs to be fixed. I need someone within a 10-kilometer radius or a 5-kilometer or a kilometer radius. You should be able to do that. So we've got that system. The problem that we have is that people are very protective of their databases. They don't want to release the databases. But we're quite glad, because when you read through this document that was put together by National Treasury, 2015 Public Sector Supply Chain Management Review, one of the things that National Treasury is working on, and we're working with National Treasury on this, is to make sure that ultimately there's a credible and verified database, national database that you can tap into, which will also be segmented by province and by municipalities.